Hello, I am Hester Velmans, and I just finished translating Love, If That's What It Is by the Dutch novelist and playwright Marijke Schermer. What intrigued me about this book is that it is, going by the title, a love story, but it's also the opposite of a love story. It's a realistic, down to earth examination of love in all its modern ramifications. It's basically about two women in midlife whose lives happen to overlap through their relationship with the same man. For one of the women, he is the husband she's rejected because he's too dull and predictable, and for the other woman, the same man is an exciting new lover. But it doesn't end there. The other characters, the children, and the women's other past and present relationships are affected by the women's quest for independence, too, creating a chorus of different voices, drowning each other out, trying to assert their own place in the world. I'll just read a short passage from the novel that delves deeper into the way relationships work. Getting to know another person brings with it a sense of awe. Here's a whole other being with a whole life of their own, a history separate from yours, a mystery opening up before you, a prospect unfolding. You start off cautiously. You try to hide what's less admirable about yourself. You try not to be too direct. You dance about, looking for ways to dodge the absolute truth. You cajole the other into doing what you want. In that dance, you do your very best not to step on the other's toes, because that would reveal what a bore you are and could mean the end. But then, eventually, there comes a turning point. I see the same thing happening all around me. When you're no longer dancing, but heading straight for your goal, you relax, and relaxing no longer hide the things you hid before. And when you do step on your partner's toes, you just decide that that foot was terribly in the way. You start interfering in each other's habits. You start teaching each other where to put your feet, what to eat or to wear or to say. You coordinate your tastes and your bedtime. You start feeling responsible for their behavior in public. You finish each other's sentences. You compliment each other. You think of the other person as a part of yourself. You misbehave in front of them as you would misbehave in private, and they do the same, and you forgive each other for it. And so that's how you really get to know one another, the entire person, you believe. But if you're honest, you know that that's not true. There are things you don't tell, nasty thoughts about your partner, tempting thoughts about third parties, insights into yourself, fantasies about a different life. In fact, you're giving the other person only half of yourself and don't even want to get to know the rest of who they are, because that wouldn't square with the fairy tale you've talked yourself into. You jealously guard a small oasis inside you, which fills up with freedom or loneliness or a combination of the two. You no longer want to get to know the other person. You just recognize them now. Again and again, the energy you'd mobilize to understand who he or she really is has been idled, and you are now directing that energy out at the world again, or on your work, or on your kids. You're no longer looking at each other. You're both looking out instead. You've lost your distance from one another. You're losing your perspective on each other. You're losing respect for each other, and a new distance starts to grow up between you. But now the distance is of a different order. There's no open space left in which to meet. There are rules and ingrained habits in the way, laws and expectations everywhere. The distance turns into an abyss. It's a secret, or it's the emptiness in you the other hasn't been able to fill. It's a ravine, a deep hole you either ignore or find yourselves endlessly attempting to plug with promises, reassurances, turf wars, second thoughts, or secret addictions. Don't ask me what that looks like. The abyss as a jagged wound running through the joint terrain, ringed with the hills and the valleys, earthly delights beneath the pergola, secret gardens, lagoons, and no one knows how deep. That land, the country that is love, and the way the seasons follow one another, the way the landscape changes depending on the conditions, torrential rain, scorching heat, or an earthquake. I've never been very good at it. I'd always been the one, I'd always be the one jumping into the abyss in no time.